Hey guys, welcome back to the Midnight Movie, formerly Cult of Film. I had to do a little change in the title as it was too close to Cult of Man, the other show I do for this channel. Folks were getting confused because the episodes were at the same number too. So just a quick little note there, but welcome back. Again, we're Midnight Movie now. And this week I wanted to delve into a classic of sort of old Hollywood. This movie, I think people are aware of it. I had known about it for a long time. I think I watched it as a kid, but I couldn't remember much. And in my last 6 years of really deep film study, I had to return to it because just the look of it was so cool, and it did not disappoint. I'm talking about 1968's Bullitt, starring the great, uber cool Steve McQueen. McQueen is the epitome of Hollywood masculine cool. And this movie, I feel like, is the epitome of what an old school sort of detective crime action movie could and can be. It's again, it's late '60s, so this is when things were really starting to kick off with new Hollywood. There were more risks being taken. Our characters weren't. It wasn't as black and white in terms of the characters or the fight between good and evil. It was a little bit more nuanced. And Bullitt, from the opening credits, there's a lot of different effects used. And for a movie of this time, you just don't see a whole lot of that. The opening credits uses a lot of picture in picture, a lot of movement in the actual credits themselves, which I can't remember the last time I've seen in a movie, let alone a movie from the late '60s. And this is just, it's a classic American action thriller. Uh, McQueen plays San Francisco Lieutenant Frank Bullitt. What a great name, Frank Bullitt. You know this guy is going to be a badass. On top of the fact that McQueen doesn't have a ton of dialogue, and what he can convey with a look in this movie, I think every male actor should aspire to. The incredible screen presence that McQueen had. I'm trying to think of who today. Maybe only a handful of guys have that. In any case, the movie opens in Chicago, where basically it's a Friday night, and a mobster named Johnny Ross briefly meets with his brother Pete after fleeing the outfit, which is an organized crime outfit there in Chicago. And the next morning, Lieutenant Frank Bullitt and the San Francisco Police Department are tasked with protecting Ross as a witness to the Senate subcommittee on targeting the problem of organized crime. So that sort of sets the stage for the film. Bullitt and his partner need to basically keep this guy safe and alive in to make sure that he can testify, and so that these an aspiring politician played by the great Robert Vaughn, who you might remember from A Man from U.N.C.L.E. if you watch old television. Another guy with great screen presence. He worked forever. He worked in the '60s, the '70s, '80s, '90s. I think he was even on a British program called Hustle about some con artists, which everyone should watch. So anyways, Robert Vaughn plays this politician who's Senator Walter Chalmers, who wants Bullitt to protect this guy so that he can get his testimony, he can carve a few notches in his belt, and keep climbing the political ladder. Well, things don't quite work out the way Chalmers wants, and what do you know? The guys from Chicago show up, and not to spoil anything, they ice the guy, and in the process, Bullitt's partner gets wounded, and now this whole thing is super personal. We see a really gritty, sort of tough world that Bullitt lives in, as most police officers do. Anyone who is tasked with any detail of violent crime, organized crime, gang units, they see a lot of stuff. And so you have the character of Bullitt balancing the need to he's balancing his want for vengeance for his partner being wounded. He's got Chalmers breathing down his neck, Again, Chalmers, it's not clear. Maybe he has good intentions. Maybe he's just a wormy political climber. He's got Chalmers breathing down his neck. He's got a beautiful wife that just wants to reach him and sees how the job sort of weighs down on him. And all this, including maybe one of the best car chases in maybe all of cinema. It's amazing. Bullitt drives, I believe it's a '68 Ford Mustang, sort of dark green. I don't know if it's olive green or a hunter green, but it's a dark green, which you don't really see those. I feel like with Mustangs, they're always kind of a bright color, but the dark green really works for the tough, gritty, brooding character of Frank Bullitt. So much so that the car has kind of become an icon unto itself, in addition to McQueen in this role. And I believe a few times in its history, Ford has actually issued a couple of Bullitt edition Mustangs, which have been super cool. Look it up, Google image those things. I feel like maybe there was one in 2008, maybe 2018, but there's been a few, and they're gorgeous. The car chase that, and I'm not ruining anything here, the car chase that happens in the movie is between Bullitt in his Mustang and I believe a '68 black Dodge Charger. It is, God, it's beautiful. If you're like me, if you grew up just really loving classic American muscle cars, you owe it to yourself to watch this movie. Not only is it a great movie, is it beautifully shot. There's so much shadow. It's not a proper noir, but it has such a mood and an atmosphere to it. Sort of the heavy countenance of McQueen and how he carries this role. It's just, you read it, you can reach out and touch it. Like, it just feels so palpable, the tension from this movie and the look of it. It's there's nothing flashy in this movie, which is it's a relief. I've been watching a lot of sort of newer movies that I didn't get to see in the theater lately, and everything frankly seems like a goddamn video game, and I'm so sick of it. I turn on Bullitt. I think I've watched it 3 times in the past couple weeks, and it's so refreshing to see a well composed scene. People taking their time with establishing the scene, a character walking into shot, just being able to establish a look and a feel with no dialogue is so drastically different from so much of what we're doing today. And I'd like us to get back to that. I want our industry to start giving people, audiences, more credit. I feel like Tarantino's the only guy who does that. He can do obviously some wild stuff, but he also will marinate on a scene. There isn't that pressure to make a whole bunch of stuff happen, and it's a feast for the eyes. The color palette for this movie is classic late '60s. The clothing on the guys, on the gals, I want to pivot so hard to start wearing a tie again and start dressing sort of like a 1960s detective or a 1970s detective. These guys, this was a time, this of course is the post-war period, 1968. So that is 23 years after the end of World War II, only 23 years. You can feel in the time of which Bullitt was made and in other films like it, there's a deep desire, a deep grounded masculinity in how these guys present themselves, how they dress. Everyone is dressing like a fucking adult. And again, I'm not against athleisure, wear it all. I wear it myself, but man, it's the way these guys are just dressed just for work or just dressed when they go out to dinner with their gal. Everybody just looks so dignified, but dignified and tough and strong without having to prove anything. Everybody just looks really good. Just the well-cut hair, maybe a hat, a jacket. I feel like we need to raise the bar just a little bit. I'm not saying we can't wear our sweats, we can't wear our t-shirts, we can't wear our athleisure, but find a reason once a week to dress like Frank Bullitt, fellas. I'm telling you, I think it would feel good. And it's just one of those things that I deeply, deeply enjoy about this movie, not just the great dialogue, just the strength of presence of all of the actors, the incredibly tight script, the beautiful compositions, the directing by, I believe this is directed by Peter Yates, who I'm not sure if I'm too familiar with his work, but I love how he directed this movie. This just feels like a movie that was made for people who were adults. When men were men and women were women, and we went and we wanted to have just a good time at the movies. And I cannot recommend this movie enough. Bullitt, 1968. It is currently streaming for free on our favorite, Tubi. There's so much great stuff on Tubi. If you haven't signed up, you just have to register with your email. They don't spam you. They do send you updates on stuff you might like. You can create your own My Stuff list, and this, right now, Bullitt is up on the top of my list. I have watched, rewatched, and rewatched this movie. There's such a power to this old cinema, and I know so many people aren't. They want something different. They want something grounded. They want something that feels tactile and gritty and real. Bullitt is a movie for you. So yeah, Peter Yates, the great Steve McQueen, and Robert Vaughn. I know that Steve McQueen, I think, passed maybe in the 80s. I think he was a heavy smoker, and I believe Robert Vaughn he passed only a few years ago. And Bullitt's wife is actually played by Jacqueline Bisset, which she's been around. You see her in a lot of movies from this time. Few moments with Robert Duvall, who plays a taxi driver of all roles in this movie. It's crazy how Robert Duvall looks exactly the same in 1968 as he does in movies that he did in the 80s and even the 90s. The guy was just a quintessential sort of like older, tough guy in everything. And for those of you that are old enough, a small sort of a role for Norman Fell, who some of you, if you're a particular age, might remember as Mr. Roper from Three's Company. So a few little treats for those of you like me that grew up on rerun television. But yeah, check this one out. Watch it, rewatch it, enjoy it. Bullitt, 1968. Can't say enough about it. But do let me know what you guys think about it. Is this movie a dinosaur, or is it as good as I think it is? Let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.